Hey Mixers, welcome into our first WNBA video of the 2026 season. WNBA has a special place in my heart because that is the league that got this channel launched. I also watch most of the games because it's our slow time at work over the summer, and I don't like baseball or hockey, so I watch a lot of the WNBA games. I will highly recommend that you get your picks from someone who actually watches the games because we don't get a lot of picks on the bench players, and so people don't get to know the bench players very well. So if you're watching the games, you do get to know them very well. You know what the rotations are, and you know who's going to fill in for who. So let's go ahead and review how we did last season, and then we're going to cover how I think each team is going to place all 15 teams in the finals. We're going to do MVP odds, we're going to do Rookie of the Year, we're going to do some season-long player props, and we're going to do finals, who I think is going to win the finals. So we're going to cover all of that, hopefully in 30 minutes or less. All right, let's jump into it. All right, so first of all, reviewing last year. Last season, we were able to have a 56% hit rate on our best bets, 134 and 103. I didn't do any leans last year. We will do that this year. And I was tracking money lines and things like that as well, but I wasn't necessarily betting on them because I couldn't bet on them in my state. But now I should be able to, so we will go in on some of those this year. The player that I bet on the most last year was A'ja Wilson, and I was right 63, almost 64% of the time. The player I made the most money on, though, was Kayla Thornton. I was right on her 80% of the time. So when she got hurt and missed the rest of the season, I was so sad. And then the other two players I made the most money on were Kelsey Mitchell and Sabrina Ionescu. The player I lost the most money on was Alyssa Thomas, and that was mostly betting on her unders. So I should have just been betting on her overs. And then Alicia Gray lost me a ton of money last year. So those were the two players that lost me the most money. Now, it's going to be different from year to year, but I just always like to keep track of this, to review it, so that I know how good of a read I have on these players some of the time. All right, here is my tier status, and as you can see, I have the New York Liberty, the Fever, and the Dream in the finals. Those are the three teams I think who are going to be vying for the crown this year. And then the Mercury, the Valkyrie, and the Sky, I think are going to be fighting for that last playoff spot. So that would mean the Mercury has fallen quite a bit from last year. The Sky has come up. The Wings have come up significantly. The Sparks have come up significantly. And the Lynx have slid a little bit. So we're going to jump into every single team, but that is the summary. All right, starting off with the Portland Fire, one of the brand new teams. I think they're going to end up anywhere in the 13 to 15 range. My prediction is 15. So what they did in their expansion draft and in the rookie draft is they went out and got players that they feel like they could develop versus the Tempo, who I think brought in a couple of veterans and are trying to make a play for the playoffs, kind of like how the Valkyrie did last year. So an expansion team has never gotten into the playoffs in the WNBA before until last year. The Valkyrie did it. And I think Natalie Nakase, their coach, was fantastic. And it was awesome that they were able to get in there. But I don't think, the Tempo are basically going to try and go for it, I think. And the Portland Fire said, no, let's just draft some young players that we like, that we can develop, and we'll see how it turns out. So that's what they did. So they brought in Carla Late from the Valkyrie, still on her rookie contract. I highlighted the players who I think are going to be contributing the most to this team, but we'll go through all of them. So Carla Late, Maya Caldwell, Haley Jones, and then Shug Sutton, kind of more of a veteran presence. Bridget Carlton, Emily Angsler, Chloe Bibby, and Louisa Gieselsoder. So I think Carla Late, Bridget Carlton, and Louisa Gieselsoder are really going to get an opportunity here to shine and to break out. So I think that they already played well last year. They've already played well, but they're going to get a chance here now with significantly higher usage to really shine. So those are the players I want to focus on betting on probably in the early part of the Portland Fire. All right, the Connecticut Sun, who I am not a fan of, I am predicting in that same range, 13 to 15, and I'll put them at 14. They lost Marina Mabrey and Tina Charles, who are two of their two best players. Now, Tina Charles is a question mark because she has not signed yet, but she has hinted that she might retire. It's possible she plays one more season, then retires when the Connecticut Sun go to Houston next year and become the Houston Comets. They acquired, players who I'm not really excited about. So Brittany Griner, who's older, Diamond Miller, Kennedy Burke, and Shea Petty. None of these players make me excited. Their rookies last year, though, played pretty well when Marina Mabrey was out. So specifically, Sanaya Rivers, I thought, played pretty well. Anissa Morrow. Aaliyah Edwards is a decent player, I think, who's bounced around on a couple of teams. Kennedy Burke, I mean, I think all these players are going to get a chance to break out. But so we'll just see. You know, it's hard to say, I guess I'm trying to say, is I don't know who's going to break out of these players. But I don't expect the team overall to necessarily be that good. And then Brittany Griner, Olivia Nelson-Ododa are going to have to split time at center with Tina Charles if she does end up signing with the team. All right, the Storm are going to fall the furthest out of any team. They fell straight out of the playoffs and down into the bottom three, in my opinion, but they will be the top of the bottom three. They lost by far, number one, the most players out of any team this year. They fired their head coach, Noelle Quinn, which I think was the right decision. She was not a good coach, in my opinion. They lost their star guard, Skylar Diggins-Smith, Neko Guimake, Gabby Williams, Brittany Sykes, Eric Wheeler, some of our favorite players to bet on last year. They acquired Natisha Heidemann from the Lynx, Stephanie Dolson, and Jade Melbourne from the Mystics. So their lineup is going to look something like this. Natisha Heidemann, Jade Melbourne, Flau'jae Johnson, their rookie, who there's a lot of controversy around that pick. The Valkyries originally picked Flau'jae Johnson at 8 and then traded with the Seattle Storm down for the player that they picked at like 16 plus another pick. So there's controversy surrounding her. I do think they're going to give her a chance to shine and to prove that she deserved to be picked that high. Easy Magbagor, who is hurt and will not be starting the season with the team. Dominic Malanga, who was an amazing rookie breakout from last year. And then Stephanie Dolson, who came over from the Mystics. Now, they lost every single starter on their team. Every single one. There's only 2 players on the entire team who were here last year. And that's Easy Magbagor and Dominic Malanga, who are still going to be like starters, I guess. And so that's not good. That's not good. This team is not going to have a good season. But I don't think they're going to be the worst of the worst. We'll have to find out. All right, the Tempo, the other expansion team, I have them in a tier of their own because I do think their roster puts them ahead of those other 3 teams we just talked about, but clearly below everybody else. So I just have them in position 12. They brought in Marina Mabry, who I hate, Brittany Sykes, Julie Almond, who I love, Tammy Fagbenle, Niara Sabali, Aaliyah Nye, Izzy Harrison, and then Nicolina Milic. And so they're building a team that could compete, but I just don't think they'll be able to with the star power that everybody else has and the depth. So I do think they have good guard depth, and I think the guards complement each other very well because Marina Mabry is a good three-point shooter. She's an aggressive player. Brittany Sykes is an aggressive player. She shoots more from the mid-range usually. And then Julie Almond is a really good distributor. So I think that the guard combo really complements. Like, that is the centerpiece of this team. And I think that they play really well. So it'll be up to the forwards and the center to be able to turn that distributing and turn that good gameplay into points for them. So I think the forwards are going to get a chance to break out. Tammy Fagbenle, I wasn't super impressed with her on the Valkyrie last year, and Niara Sabali barely played for the Liberty last year, so it's hard to say. We did see a little bit of Aaliyah Nye, and then Izzy Harrison, I thought, played okay when she got her opportunities. One of them is going to have to break out and be like the star forward for this team. All right, the Mystics, I feel like, are clearly in position 11. They're clearly better than the Tempo and clearly worse than everybody else ahead of them. So I think they did okay. They're a very young team, and I feel like they just got younger. So they got rid of Shug Sutton. They got rid of Brittany Sykes last year, Emily Angster, Aaliyah Edwards, and then they picked up Michaela Onyenwere from the Sky and then a bunch of rookies, which are already full of a bunch of rookies from last year. So this is a very young team, which makes it exciting. They're going to be very scrappy, fun to watch, but they're probably not going to get very far. So Sonia Citron, who I loved last year, and then Georgia, who was a rookie as well last year. Kiki Iriafin, also a rookie from last year. Michaela Onyenwere, Shakira Austin, and then Lauren Betts. So the Tempo tried to sign Shakira Austin, and I think that if they had signed Shakira Austin, they honestly could have made an argument that they could maybe push into the playoffs. I still think they would need like a star forward or at least one of the forwards to break out. But unfortunately, they weren't able to get her. They weren't able to pull her away from the Mystics. But the Mystics did also draft another center, Lauren Betts, with one of their high picks. And so I think that they're pretty solid at center. They're pretty solid at forward. And then it's up to the guard play because Sonia Citron, I don't know about Georgia. I don't know how tall she is, but Sonia is very short. So I don't think they have a tall guard. They did not bring in any splashy trades, like any big veterans, any big names. They prefer to develop their young players, and I actually agree with that decision. I think the coach played really well last year. I loved his decision-making last year. I loved his decision to trade Brittany Sykes at the moment that they did. So I think they got good value out of that, and I think that this team is well coached. So I think they're going places, just not this year. All right, the Chicago Sky. So these guys are up in the next tier. This is a tier of 3, 8 to 10. So I have them in 10th place. They lost Angel Reese, obviously. They're probably their most important player. And then Ariel Atkins, which is also a great player. So I think the Chicago Sky management have a problem hanging on to talent. I don't know the situation between Angel Reese and the management. I don't know the situation between management and any of the other good players that have come and gone through the Chicago Sky. But I think that they have a big problem hanging on to talent lately. And that's going to be a problem for them moving forward. By far, this team added the most new players. So that means we don't know how those players are going to gel and really where this team can or can't go. So I think they could be 8th and get into the playoffs. They also could be 10th and one of the worst teams in the league. I guess we'll find out. So they acquired Skylar Diggins-Smith from the Storm, Rickea Jackson and Azuri Stevens from the Sparks, JC Sheldon from the Mystics, who she was on the Sun, then the Mystics last year, and then Dejanay Carrington from the Lynx, who was on the Wings last year as well, and then Gabriella Jaquez is their high draft pick that they used for their rookie. So their lineup is going to look like Skylar Diggins, Courtney Vandersloot, 2 short guards. Dejanay Carrington's out right now, but she's a short guard as well. Gabriella Jaquez, who we don't know what we're going to get out of her. She's a rookie. And then Rachel Bannum, their 3-point shooter, who probably won't get a lot of playing time. Rickea Jackson is their forward and Azuri Stevens as their other forward. Last year, she kind of played forward center. And then Camila Cardoso at center, Elizabeth Williams at center. So I think they're actually pretty stacked at most positions. Like they have they have some veteran presence, and then they have some new blood as well. So I do like that, and I think that gives them potential to potentially push into the playoffs. It's just a matter of how this team plays together, how they gel together. That's going to make the difference. So we just don't know. I think the Chicago Sky are probably the biggest question mark team for me, because I could see them as high as making the playoffs or as low as being one of the worst teams in the league, basically. All right, the Valkyrie. Now, they made the playoffs last year, but I have them barely missing the playoffs because I put them in position 9. However, I think they could compete for the playoff spot, so they're in the range of 8 to 10. Now, they lost Carla Late, a good young talent, Tammy Fagbenle, who I don't care about, and then Monique Billings, who I think was the best pickup for the Fever. We'll talk about her when we get to the Fever. But they acquired Gabby Williams, which I think is one of the best pickups of the free agency in general. So their lineup is going to look like this. Veronica Burton and Tiff Hayes from last year, Kayla Charles from last year, Xana Lassini from last year. So they have a lot of good guard depth. Then Gabby Williams and Kayla Thorne at forwards, who I think they are going to complement each other pretty well. They're both older players, but I think they still have it in them. Kayla Thornton's a great rebounder, a decent 3-point shooter as well. And then Gabby Williams is a great mid-range player on both sides of the ball. So I just think that that's a good compliment right there. And then Janelle Salon did okay with her opportunities last year. I think that they can continue to develop her. And then Ileana Rupert, I have no idea. So we'll have to see on that one. But I think that they could compete for a playoff spot or fall just short of it. They're going to be a nightmare at home, the Valkyrie. All right, Mercury, 8 to 10. I have these guys falling probably the furthest other than the Storm. So I have them falling potentially out of the playoffs, but I did put them in the playoffs at the 8th spot. They only lost one player, Satu Sabali, one main player. And then they acquired a bunch of rookies. So it just depends on how they play. Sammy Whitcomb did I wouldn't say break out because we knew she could shoot, but she had a really good year last year when she was forced to shoot a lot. They're basically running it back without Satu. So Kalia Copper, a high usage guard, Sammy Whitcomb, a good 3-point shooter, Monica Koa-Makani is going to be needing to develop, and then Alyssa Thomas, who can put the team on her back. DeWanna Bonner, older player who's probably cooked at this point. She's been a great player in the past. I hate to say that about a player, but Like, she's probably winding down towards the end of her career here. And then Natasha Mack. So I just think that this player, like this team could, like they have a higher ceiling than 8, honestly. They could compete up into like the 6 range. I just think when you see the other rosters, you're going to be like, how can the Mercury beat these teams? So we'll see. All right, the Dallas Wings, I have them coming up the most from any other team, all the way from the bottom of the league to 7. And I think they could compete from anywhere from 5 to 7. They fired their head coach. They lost Haley Jones, who I don't care about and don't think is a very good player. And then Luisa Giesel-Soder, who I do think is a good player, but they replaced that talent. So they got a really good free agency, in my opinion. So they got Alana Smith and Jessica Shepard, which I think is fantastic. Alicia Clark, AZ Fudd, obviously the number 1 overall pick, and then Odyssey Sims. So they built a really good guard depth here. So they obviously have Paige, the rookie of the year from last year. Enrique stayed on the team, and then AZ Fudd, the number 1 overall pick this year. So they've got a really good guard group, and then Odyssey Sims to back them up. Alana Smith and Maddie Siegrist, I think, is a great forward combo. And then Jessica Shepard at center with Lee Rue, I think, is a great combo. So they've got great guard depth. They have height at every single position. They have Paige, the number 1 overall pick from last year, and Azzy, the number 1 overall pick from this year. So I think that the Dallas Wings are here to compete. It'll just depend on the new head coach, obviously. I mean, it won't depend on him. It will depend on the players. But I do think how they're coached makes a big difference. And so we'll have to see if he can do a better job than the previous head coach. All right, the Lynx, I think, are also going to slip from last year. So they are at 6th spot, but I have them competing anywhere between 5 and 7. So they lost the second most players after the Seattle Storm. So they lost, but not really a lot of their starters. So that's the good part, I guess. So they lost Bridget Carlton, Alana Smith, Jessica Shepard, Natisha Heidemann, and Dejanay Carrington. They only acquired Olivia Miles, their high rookie pick, and then Natasha Howard, an older player over from the Fever. So their main lineup is going to look like Kayla McBride, Courtney Williams, Olivia Miles, their rookie, as the guards, and then Nafisa Collier, who's going to be out for probably the whole month of May, and maybe longer, we don't know. Natasha Howard at the forward as well, and then Dorka Uhat, I don't know, tell me how to pronounce her name, and Sakima Walker at center. So they've got some new faces here. All of their depth is going to be rookies, so we don't know how that talent's going to turn out. So they're very thin. So they didn't lose their starters, but they're very thin. And I don't think they did enough in free agency. I think they could have done more. All right, the Sparks are the other rising team from last year. So they did lose a few players, but like the Wings, they replaced them. So I have them competing in that 5 to 7 range, and I have them at the top of that range at 5th. They lost Julie Allmond, kind of a depth guard. Sarah Ashley Barker, another depth guard. Rakia Jackson and Azrae Stevens, both of their forwards. But then they replaced them with the shooting guard, Ariel Atkins, Nneka, a great player, and then Erica Wheeler, a 3-point shooter. So they could have probably brought in another forward, but they might not need to, because Ariel Atkins can play like a forward, Nneka can play a little bit like a forward, and they've got good depth at center with Cam Brink and Nneka. So yeah, I think this is a team built for success. So Kelsey Plum at guard, Ariel Atkins, Ray Burrell's a great defensive player, Erica Wheeler, 3-point shooter, Julie Van Loo still on the team. She probably won't get a lot of playing time this year. Dearica Hamby, Nneka, and Cam Brink. So I really think that forward spot is really their only weak spot, I guess. But they were able to keep their height advantage because they replaced their tall players that they lost with other tall players. So they're able to keep that. The only reason the Spark couldn't compete last year, they had a killer offense. They just had no defense. So that was their problem last year. So with Cam Brink healthy all year, and then another year of Ray Burrell, hopefully they'll be able to beef up that defense a bit. All right, the Aces, I have them falling. They were the champions last year, and I have them falling to 4th. I have them in a tier by themselves at 4th. They lost to Leah Nike, Stokes, and Megan Gustafson, players I don't really care about. They acquired Brianna Turner, Stephanie Talbot, players I don't really care about. So their main players stayed the same. Chelsea Gray, who is getting old. Jackie Young, Jewel Lloyd, who is getting kind of old and is basically just a 3-point shooter at this point. Nalissa Smith played well. I think she can continue to develop. Stephanie Talbot's going to need to step up. And then Asia, obviously, is going to be asked to be the main point scorer for the team as usual. So essentially they're running back the same team. They're a little weak at forward, but that was the case last year as well. Jack Young can kind of fill that role a bit. So I like the Aces team. I just think that they got a little lucky last year that Asia was able to turn it on and the other players around her were able to turn it on, because they played very poorly at the beginning of the season. And if that happens again, I don't know if they're going to be able to turn their season around and make it all the way to the finals. They have Asia, so I mean, they can always do it. But I just am a little more wary because I think the other teams have a little bit more stacked rosters than they do. All right, the Atlanta Dream, 1-3, and I have them in third out of the 1-3, but I think they could be a finalist. They lost Brittany Griner and Maya Caldwell, who I don't care too much about. They acquired Angel Reese, obviously the biggest acquisition in the whole offseason. And they have a stacked team, but unfortunately Brianna Jones just got hurt. So that is why I put them at third, because I think they can fill that hole, but we'll see if they can or not. So essentially they're running it back with the same team plus Angel Reese, because Brittany Griner was not a high usage player anyways. So maybe they lost her height a little bit, but I think they'll be just fine. So the thing that I like about this team, so we got Alicia Gray, Jordan Canada, and Pow Pow at guard. And then we have Angel Reese and Ryan Howard at forward. And then Naz Hillman at forward and also center. And Angel Reese will probably play center a little bit as well with Brianna Jones out. So that's a lot of height and a lot of talent in the paint. And then they have some good three-point shooters as well. So Ryan and Alicia Gray are good three-point shooters. So I honestly think that they have it all. They have a championship roster here. Unfortunately, Brianna Jones just got hurt. And so those other players are going to have to be asked to step in and fill in that spot for her, possibly the whole season, maybe even all of the playoffs too, if they even make it to the playoffs, but I think they will. So Brianna Jones, there's just no timeline on when she's going to come back, so we just don't know. The thing I like about this team that no other team has that we've talked about so far is I think they have 4 players on this team, 4 starters. Well, not even starters. Well, I guess if you count Jordan Canada as a starter, that can drop 20 plus points, no problem. I don't know if there's a team we've talked about that I can say they have 4 players that can drop 20 plus no problem unless somebody's out. And obviously most of the time, like Jordan Canada is not going to score 20 points unless Alicia Gray is out and other players are out. Like if Alicia Gray and Ryan Howard are out, Jordan Canada is going to step up. But she could do it. And that's why I think other than other teams we talked about, they have the best chance to do that. And then I think the 2 other finalist teams I have also could probably do that. So we'll talk about it. The Indiana Fever are next. I have them in position 2. So, spoiler alert, I told you at the beginning, I think the Liberty will win the league this year. They lost Chloe Bibby and Natasha Howard, 2 players I don't care too much about. And they acquired Mo Billings and Maisha Hines-Allen, which I think were great. Mo Billings especially was a great pickup. So she's young, she's talented, she's tall. I think she has a really good chance to help this team become a championship team. She played with Caitlin in Unrivaled, and so they had a connection apparently, and that is what brought her over to the Fever. So their team is definitely a championship team. I mean, they've got Caitlin Clark and Kelsey Mitchell as the guards, Lexi Hull for some depth, Maisha Hines-Allen and Sophie Cunningham at forward, Monique Billings and Michaela Timpson. So nobody there is like a star forward in my opinion. Like I don't think Sophie's that great necessarily. Maisha Hines-Allen, I think she's okay, but not great. Mo Billings, I think actually has the most potential to be great out of the 4 of them. And then KK Timpson did play well when she had her opportunities last year, but she's probably gonna have a lot fewer opportunities this year. And then, maybe not with Natasha Howard off the team. And then Aaliyah Boston at center, but no center depth behind Aaliyah Boston besides like some rookies. So that's my issue with the team is they're strong at guard. They have depth at forward, but no star. And then they have a star at center, but no depth. So I like the Fever team. I think they could win it all. But I also think these other 2 teams, the Dream and the Liberty, also could win it all. So the Liberty, number 1 team in my opinion, and they are the favorite, so shouldn't really surprise anybody. They lost their head coach, and that is a knock against them because that can sometimes throw a team off from year to year. Natasha Cloud, probably not going to be playing with any teams this year, but we don't know that for sure, but that's what it's kind of looking like. And then Niara Sabali and Izzy Harrison are 2 depth pieces that they lost, who I think were decent players, but they didn't really lose like a starter besides Natasha Cloud. They brought in Satu Sabali, who I do think replaces, like Natasha Cloud and Satu Sabali don't play the same position, but they strengthened their forward room, and their guard room is already strong, I think. So as long as everyone can stay healthy. So they've got Sabrina at guard with Maureen Johannes. I think that's an awesome guard combo. Brianna Stewart, Satu Sabali, and then Leona Fibic as kind of a depth piece, and then Jonquil Jones. And then behind them, they brought in rookies for depth at every position. So they have stars at every position. They've got a star at guard, Sabrina. They've got 2 star forwards. They've got a star center. And then they brought in rookies, and they have already a depth guard and a depth forward. They brought in rookies to fill in those other spots. They also have 4 players who I think can drop 20 points in any given game. So Sabrina, Stewie, Satu, and Jonquil Jones. And we've seen Maureen Johannes do it when Sabrina's out. We've seen Leona Fibic do it as well when Stewie's out. So I think this team's built to win. And obviously they're always built to win. They kind of do that on purpose, obviously. I mean, every team tries to do it, but the Liberty are very good at that. So yeah, I do think that the New York Liberty have a chance to go back to the finals and win it all this year. And I also think the Fever have a good chance, and also the Dream. So, don't hate on me. All right, let's talk about MVP. Caitlin Clark and Asia are the favorites. We're not getting good prices on them. Usually when I bet awards, I do not bet on the favorite preseason. So I'll bet on them once the season starts, maybe if the odds change in my favor a bit. But I'll never bet on them to start the season. And here's why I don't even like them anyways. So Caitlin Clark, she's going to be playing, so she kind of has the best storyline because she hasn't been able to stay healthy in the league. She won her rookie year, wasn't able to stay healthy last year, is coming back, and then probably is going to take her team to a championship or at least to the finals. But it's not all going to be on her shoulders. She's going to have Aaliyah Boston, another number 1 pick who won Rookie of the Year her year, Kelsey Mitchell as well. So I just don't think she really deserves. I mean, it depends how the season plays out. But if she doesn't carry the whole team on her back, then I don't know if she deserves MVP. Maybe comeback player of the year, which I think she's kind of a shoo-in for that. I haven't seen odds for that, but I think she could win comeback player of the year, definitely. Asia Wilson could win it, and Asia Wilson can always win it. So I'm just going to ignore Asia Wilson because she's always in the mix to put the team on her back and take them to the finals. Nafisa Collier is going to miss the first month, so I really like her story. She could also win comeback player of the year, but I like her story of coming back. And then her team that got stripped of all depth, she didn't lose her starters, but she did lose all the depth on her team. And so she might have to put the team on her back and carry them to the championship or to the playoffs. And so I think she has a chance. And if you can get her more towards the 900 side of the range that I'm seeing, then I don't think that's a bad bet to make right now. Stewie and Sabrina, I want to talk about both of them because they're on the same team. It's the same argument as Caitlin. There's too many stars on the team, so they just don't need to carry their team. So I just don't think they earn MVP. Alyssa Thomas, though, lost Satu Sabali. So now we have Ka Copper and Alyssa Thomas on the team. They are the 2 do-it-all players for that team. And so I think Alyssa Thomas has a chance to win it, and I like the price. Paige, I don't think has a chance, but I like the price if you can get the 3,000. Because Azzy, a number 1 pick, is now on the team at her same position. Enrique, who is was their next best player, also at the same position. And then they brought in talent at all the other positions, forward and center. So I just don't think Paige is going to have to put the whole team on her back and take them to the playoffs. And then my long shot is Angel Reese because Alicia Clark could end up taking a back seat and shooting a lot of threes or even get hurt. She missed time last year. Ryan Howard missed time last year. And right now Brianna Jones is hurt. So I do think there is a chance that Angel Reese does have to do a lot for this team. And that I do think they are going to push to the playoffs. So I think there's a chance. I think it's worth a couple dollars for plus 8,000. All right, finals champion. I do like the Liberty as the favorites, but I'm probably going to wait to get a better price there. The Fever at plus 450, I'm comfortable betting that now because I think that's a good price. The Dream at plus 650, I think that's a good price for the Dream. And then my long shot would be the Sparks because I think they have all the pieces they need. It just depends on if their defense is going to be able to hold up in the playoffs. And they're going to have to show that to us. You know, a full year of Cam Brink, what does that look like? Well, we're going to have to see with this new offense. I think the Wings are interesting at plus 3,000, but I just don't think they have what it takes to win it all right now. All right, Rookie of the Year odds. Now, usually in the WNBA, the Rookie of the Year is going to be the number 1 overall pick. That's happened more times than not over the last 20 times, like probably 70% of the time. So Azzi Fudd should be the Rookie of the Year, but I don't think she will be, and here's why. Paige is on the team. Arike's on the team. They brought in talent at forward. They brought in talent at center. So I don't think Azzi Fudd is going to have the chance to really shine with all those other players on the team. Olivia Miles is coming into a better situation, I think. She's going to come into a guard situation for the Lynx. And obviously Courtney Williams is already there. Kayla McBride is already there. But we've already seen Kayla McBride is willing to just shoot threes. And Courtney Williams is kind of a mid-range person. So if Olivia Miles proves to be good and kind of takes over that facilitating role for the team, obviously she's on the team with Napheesa Collier, so Napheesa might outshine her, but I think she's walking into a better opportunity, in my opinion, than Azzi is. And then Awa Pham, she is the new rookie center for the Storm. So she's going to be splitting time with Dominic Malonga, the best rookie center from last year, and Steph Dolson that they brought in from the Mystics. So there's it's 3 people all sharing the same position. And they're all I just don't think she's going to get her opportunities. So the next one, Lauren Betts, is coming into the Mystics as the center, plus 650. I like the price, but she's going to be competing with Shakira Austin. Also, Kiki Iriafen gets a ton of rebounds. So I don't know if Lauren Betts is going to be able to have a chance to shine in her role. And then Flau'jae Johnson, the reason I'm comfortable betting this at plus 1,000 right now is because she's coming onto a team, the Seattle Storm, who has completely lost all of their players. So they've completely turned over their team. And she's walking into a lead role, basically. So she's going to get a lot of usage. If she's good and can turn that usage into something good, then I think her story of being drafted number 8 overall and then being immediately traded for like the 16th overall pick or something like that. I think that story of her proving she deserved to be drafted at number 8 and that the Valkyrie made a mistake, I think that story wins her the award if she plays well. And she is going to have the opportunity. So the 2 players I think that will have the opportunity out of the top 5 are Olivia and Flau'jae. Plus 1,000 is a great price, so I'm betting that now. But I might bet this again, like almost halfway through the season. Once the odds change a little bit, we see how people have been playing. All right, 2 player props for you, season-long player props, and then we're done. Paige Bueckers under 19.9 points per game. Last year, she scored 19.2 points per game, and that won her the Rookie of the Year award. So we're asking her to improve by almost a full point per game. But now, she doesn't have to be the do-it-all for her team. So that just doesn't make any sense to me. Also, Arike Ogunbowale had probably one of her worst seasons last year. The year before that, Arike was one of the top scorers in the league per game on a per-game basis. But with Paige on the team, and she just had a really bad year. So Arike's still there to take usage from Paige. Now they use their number 1 overall pick on Azzi, same position as Paige. So I just don't think Paige is going to get the same usage that she had last year. And that won't lead to 19.9 points per game. Sorry, I love Paige, but she's just not going to do this, in my opinion. Only 3 players in the WNBA did this last year. Kelsey Mitchell, who Caitlin Clark was out most of the year, and Kelsey Mitchell had to facilitate basically the whole time. She almost never left the court last year. Well, Paige is going to get breaks because Azzi and Arike can play guard. Napheesa Collier, who was on pace to be the MVP, and then Asia Wilson, who won the MVP, obviously. So, and these are not guards. Napheesa Collier is more of a forward. Asia Wilson's the center. I think for a guard to win this award, it's going to have to be someone on a team who they don't have anyone else who can score and nobody else at the guard position good enough to take usage away from them. And that's just not Paige, unfortunately. So, I'm going to go under on the 19.9 points per game. And then we're going to fade Caitlin Clark as well because 20.6 points per game is insane. considering she did 19.2 her rookie year, the year she won Rookie of the Year. And then last year, obviously, she got injured, so we can throw out last year. The 16.5, I don't care about it. She's probably going to get somewhere close back to where she was. And who knows? She could go over this line. I definitely think she has the talent. I'm not a Caitlin Clark hater, you guys. I think she gets too much credit, like more credit than she deserves. But that doesn't mean I don't think she's a good player. I think she is a good player. So last year, only 2 players went over this. That was Nafisa Collier at the forward position, A'ja Wilson at the center position. The year before that, in 2024, 3 players went over this number. Kalia Copper, kind of a guard, shooting guard, and then Arike Gumbawale, guard, and A'ja Wilson at center. So it's possible for a guard to do this, to have a points per game average this high, but Ka Copper was on a team with nobody else on the team. She was carrying the whole team on her back that year. Arike Gumbawale 2 years ago was carrying the whole Dallas team on her back, and that was not a good team. So those were 2 players on bad teams that had extremely high usage. And then A'ja Wilson always carries her team. So Caitlin Clark's not going to have to carry her team. We already talked about it. She's got Aaliyah Boston. She's an amazing player. Caitlin Clark's going to have 9 assists a game. And that's going to lead to not 20 points a game, basically. So she's going to have her 30-point games, absolutely. But she's also going to have her 16-point games. So I just don't think the average will get us here. But I think she has the talent, just like I think Paige has the talent. I just don't think she's going to have the usage, or she's not going to need to have the usage. The one thing I would say is, like, if like Kelsey Mitchell got hurt or couldn't play, or if Aaliyah Boston got hurt or couldn't play, then I think Caitlin Clark's a shoo-in, not only for this over, but for the MVP or comeback player of the year, or both. She's probably not going to win both, but yeah. I think it would take an injury for Caitlin Clark to get here. Barring an injury, I just don't think she can get here this year. All right, so here is the summary of all the bets. I got 3 MVP bets for you. I've got 4 finals champion bets, 1 rookie of the year, and then 2 player props. If you want to wait, see if the numbers change over the next couple of weeks, then wait. I like to wait on a lot of these. Like I said, I pointed that out. If you could, I would appreciate the free things that you can do for me. I don't ever ask you for money on this channel. In fact, I try to give you money almost every single video. So please give me those likes. Please comment down below. Let me know what you think I got right, what you think I got wrong. Let's argue in the comments. Friendly argue in the comments. And then, give me that hype if you're on mobile. If you do want to try out Props Madness, you can get 25% off with our code in the mix. They do have the WNBA on there, and we will be using it. So we will start making those videos very, very soon, you guys. Thanks.